Entering the Mayo experience.
That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dog or Pass podcast. This for UFC Fight Night London. Darren Till taking on Jorge Gamebred Masvidal from the O2 Arena in London, England. Basically a Euro card. It's like a glorified Cage Warriors card. If you go back a few years, most of these people were kind of fighting, at least either like Bama or Cage Warriors. Like these European cards.
Lots of former champions.
The good thing about it is this card starts at, I'm not sure the exact time that it starts, but it basically starts around noonish our time here, Eastern Standard Time. So it's like you're done. Everything is wrapped up, all good to go around 6 o'clock. It's great. I love European cards. So I'm happy to let Europe, those European people have to stay up all night long constantly. Like, it's nice to give the Euros a break every once in a while.
I got to go to a dinner party Saturday night, and actually the people hosting were like, oh, we're busy until 8 o'clock. Can you come for 8? Perfect. I'll fit everything in the afternoon, maybe squeeze in a little nap depending how things go. Hopefully not during the main event, but after the main event. And hopefully make a little bit of money, and it should be a good time all around.
Speaking of making a little bit of money, last week's winner in the UFC draw was somebody by the name of C. Drieger.
Say that again?
C. Driedger.
C. Drieger? C. Drieger.
96. Congratulations. There should be $20 DK in your account. This week's challenge. I'm going a little bit off board here. We want people fighting like cats and dogs in the comment section here. So number 1, give the episode a like. None of this is possible unless you give the episode a like. Number 2, leave your DK handle. Number 3, tell us what you would have done if you were in Conor McGregor's spot. 5 o'clock in the morning, somebody's taking pictures of you and you are not in a great state. I don't know if I would have smashed somebody's phone, but like 5 o'clock in the morning, usually if I'm out at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm up to no good. I don't want people taking pictures of me. When I was a kid, I didn't even like having like picture day. Like picture day was completely awful. I hated it. It was like I always tried to be sick that day. I didn't want to get sent to go have my pictures. So it's like people get too comfortable. People are too entitled. They think that athletes, and listen, I've been the guy on Twitter who
you're a celebrity, Paul,
who likes to shit on Conor McGregor a little bit these days. Like,
your boy.
Don't get me wrong. I had his mugshot when it was released recently as my avatar for about a day. I switched it out again, but yeah, what I'm saying is like I'm not a guy who just like nut hugs Conor. I used to be, but yeah, no, honestly. We worked at like Fight Network together, and we had fighters coming through all the time. Did I ever really go up and bother any of them, ask for autographs?
No, okay,
I didn't do any of that.
Sure. But this guy doesn't work at an office where fighters regularly walk into, so to him...
5 o'clock in the morning!
Yeah, but so what was Conor doing about 5 o'clock in the morning?
There's so much more to this story. We're going to talk about We're going to talk about it a little bit more
the last thing I got to ask, though, is because you didn't even really tie this up. Leave your DK handle, leave a like of the show, and the comment was, if someone was to come up to you and take your picture and get it up in your face, would you take the phone and smash it or walk away? But here's my question to you, Paul.
The thing is, you have to be banged up in the situation. It has to be like 5 o'clock in the morning when you do not want pictures of yourself surfacing on social media, especially when you are a celebrity with his own stories and issues going on in Ireland that are kind of getting, suppressed right now.
I think the difference is money. Because to the average person, it would be like, if someone came up to you and was like getting in your face and you said, you know what? Take this phone. That's a 5-unit max bet on the ground. You smash someone's iPhone. It's like, oh, now they're going to make a big deal about it. It's not like someone was getting in his face, wanted an autograph, and he smacked the picture out of their hand. It's like, oh no. Because it's like theft or damage over 1,000, that's how they're going to label it. Now the guy had to go to the hospital, and now he's emotionally distressed, and now they're going to try to sue. Like, Conor McGregor is not the average person, but all the same, that's the question this week. And step 4, which Paul generally forgets until about midway through the show, the lines are subject
Hey,
to change.
Hey, that has nothing to do with the contest, but odds and lines are subject to change. See website for actual odds. If you or anybody you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Main event action here. We got Darren Till taking on Jorge Masvidal. Darren Till is 9,200 on DraftKings, minus 260 favorite. Masvidal is 7,000 and plus 220. Who you got here, Cody?
Yeah, I think it's a tough spot. I think the line's definitely looking like Till is a big favorite, and I don't necessarily agree with it. If this was Jorge Masvidal 2 years ago in anywhere but Europe, I'd be in no problem. But I got worries about where his head's at, where his physical state's at, and him going to the UK. He's not only gonna, you got to look at it like, okay, it's a 5-round fight. I'm going down 2 rounds already. I need to win at least 3 of these rounds convincingly, because otherwise, we saw what Wonderboy did when he fought Till. Pretty close fight. Most people thought Stephen Thompson won, but in the end, they're going to side with Till. Masvidal is a guy that notoriously, throughout his entire career, is a guy that's been in close nip-tuck fights. That's what he does. He's very, very talented. He can do everything. He can strike. He can wrestle. Takedown defense is good. Submission defense is good. Submission offense is good. He's extremely talented. But, you know, generally he fights to his opponent's level. Generally, he doesn't always go after it. I'm not saying he has a lack of killer instinct. He's got some big TKO finishes on his record. But sometimes he just gets complacent. The notorious examples are like when he fought Ally Quinta, obviously, where it's like in the first round, you wreck this guy's life. And in rounds 2 and 3, you just let it slip away from you. He's got split decision losses to Benson Henderson and Lorenz Larkin, and just fights that are very close fights that he truly believes he's won, but he just doesn't do enough. So now I look at a George Masvidal getting into his mid-30s. When you look at him when he's doing interviews, he physically looks in terrible shape. Like maybe all the weight's just going to his face, but he looks in terrible shape. Now here's a guy that's been competitive in basically every loss he's had in a very long time. What I mean by that is his first loss in the UFC, Rustam Khabilov. Everybody remembers it for that spinning back kick he took in the face. But close fight, and actually if you go on like MMA decisions, media members, Sherdog, Bloody Elbow, they scored the fight for George Masvidal. It was a good performance. His next loss, Ally Quinta. Geez, he wrecks this guy in the first round, takes 2 and 3 off. He loses. Benson Henderson, 5-round fight. Very close fight, but he loses. The Lorenz Larkin fight, close fight, but he loses. Those are both splits. His fight with Damian Maia, it's 1-1 going into the third, but it's a split decision loss. But the thing with the Damian Maia fight is in that third round, I thought it was 1-1, and he looked like he was tired. And in a subsequent fight with Stephen Thompson, was the first time in a long time, he just looked disinterested. He lost all 3 rounds. He didn't look all that competitive. Now he's been off for a year plus, actually. Do I all of a sudden think he's going to come in prime vintage version George Masvidal? No, I don't. And because of that, he's going to do what he always does, get into a close fight. He's not going to get knocked out. He's not going to get submitted.
And we're in England. It's going to go 5 rounds. And Darren Till, we saw it with Wonder Boy. If anything's close, if anything's tentative.
But Till's got issues too.
He was in Liverpool, I guess, for that fight. So
all the same, you know what I mean. He's the hometown. He's the hometown guy.
Yeah. He's gonna get the most pop walking into the screen.
Yeah.
When he lands a punch, they're gonna react differently than they do to George Masvidal. Yeah, if Masvidal was active recently, I think this would be a different story. But yeah, I kind of see it the same way as you. I see Darren Till winning a relatively close decision. I don't actually want to play.
No, I wouldn't play
either one of these guys on DraftKings. Like Masvidal I would be more likely at 7K just because it's so cheap. But Darren Till, historically, not a big time DraftKings scorer. Like unless he knocks you out, like he did Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He picks his shots. He's not very active. He's not throwing out tons of volume. He's a bit of a sniper, a sharpshooter, right? So he's looking for those perfect shots. Masvidal, super, super durable. I don't care if he looks like he's in terrible shape. Very, very durable guy. Yeah, I see it going 5 rounds. I see Till probably eking out a decision here, maybe even a split decision. If I was forced to bet, it would be Masvidal in our Tout Master. I'm going to probably pick Masvidal here, but just for the extra points. I think the line is off, but I think Darren Till wins by decision. That's generally my thought. Yeah,
well, I think the line's off as well, because like I said, it should be a close fight. It should be a competitive fight, and you're looking at $260 for Darren Till, $9,200 on DraftKings. Darren Till, what really worries me, the reason why I'm not bigger on this guy, thinking that, geez, I think it's going to go 5 rounds. I think it's going to be hard to beat him in England for 5 rounds. Darren Till's 25 years old. He's the up-and-comer. He's 1 fight removed from a UFC title shot. Like, why wouldn't you want to back this guy more? Truthfully, I think he's going to really have trouble with this 170-pound weight class. And when you look at him, when he debuts in the UFC, he's a young guy. He's a developing guy. He's a growing guy. He fights Ayari. And it's a terrible fucking fight. He lands like 38 significant strikes. He wins a decision. He missed weight, weighed in at 176 for that fight. So then he fights Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He weighs in at 174 for that fight. So now when he fights Tyron Woodley, it's championship weight. You got to make the weight. He weighs in at 169, which is like, damn, this guy's really big. Here's a guy that struggled to make 170, coming in at 169. Paul, he did not throw anything. He landed 0 significant strikes, and the fight went beyond 1 round. He threw nothing. And the Ayari fight where he missed weight, he threw nothing. And the Bojan Velikovic fight, for the most part, he kind of threw nothing. And there's the problem with Darren Till. Like, either he smokes you out of there like Cerrone or Wendell Oliveira, and it looks spectacular, or he stands in front of you and he doesn't do anything. Masvidal could outwork him. Masvidal could out-hustle him. But when someone stands in front of Masvidal and doesn't do anything, Masvidal does the same thing. He does the exact same thing. And because I believe he's going to play that exact same game, yeah, I think Till will probably eke out what is a close decision that some people disagree with. Masvidal will disagree with it, and I don't think he pays up to that price point, so I would pass.
All right, so we are on the same page. We move on. We've got Leon Edwards taking on Gunny Nelson. Leon Edwards, 8,300 minus 45 favorite. Gunnar Nelson, 7,900 and plus 125. My issue here with Gunnar Nelson, who obviously has a massive advantage should he be able to get the fight to the ground, is he doesn't really have the wrestling. And that's the problem with a lot of these jiu-jitsu guys. Oh, you got a great massive advantage when you get the fight to the ground. It's just like, but you got to be able to get it there. Damian Maia made a career out of it. Why? Because he got really good at the chain wrestling to get the fight to where he is most dominant. I don't really see it with Gunny. He's got the karate style on the feet, which maybe he's competitive with Leon Edwards in the stand-up. Like, I don't think that the line's completely off or anything, but I think Leon Edwards, what we have seen from him, one, if this guy's all right, the guy has been a little bit dumb in some situations where he starts going to his resume. Oh, I want to prove that I'm a well-rounded mixed martial artist. This ain't the fight to be testing out that stuff anymore. But I think he's smart enough to know that he doesn't. We saw against Cowboy Cerrone, he was just able to stay at range and stay out of trouble, hit Cerrone, but be out of range for where Cerrone would be able to return any fire on him. I kind of see that happening here. I see a either 29-28 or 30-27 decision. Leon Edwards on the feet. Not really a high-scoring affair on DraftKings. I won't be making any bets on said action. There aren't any props out yet. If there's some sort of egregious line on Gunnar Nelson by submission, maybe I'd poke at that. But I don't think minus 145 plus 125. I don't think the prop would be anything crazy. So I'd probably just be a full out pass for me. What about you?
Yeah, if you're going to play one of them as a potential high score, you'd go with Gunnar Nelson because if he's going to win this fight, and we know how he wins fights, he's a potent finisher. Maybe he gets that finish, but I'm going to have to side with Leon Edwards here. I think just like you, he's the better stand-up fighter, and this fight, despite it being Gunnar Nelson, who's going to be trying to take him down, Leon Edwards is adequate, man. He'll be able to keep himself standing long enough, like you mentioned in the Cowboy Cerrone fight. He beats him at length, and outstriking Cowboy Cerrone at length, when you're not a power puncher that's getting up in his face, which he's not really a power puncher, and he wasn't getting up his face, he was physically just outpointing and outstriking Donald Cerrone. He's a good striker. As far as his wrestling goes, he's generally used that in the past to win fights. Not that he's going to want to use it here, but his wrestling seems to check out, especially for a British fighter. His wrestling defense, that's going to be the question here. He's got to keep this fight standing, and I believe he'll be able to beat Gunnar Nelson over the course of 3 rounds. Gunnar Nelson's karate style, it's nice, it's fancy, it's only effective in small bursts. He can only use it for a certain amount of time to either drop you, hurt you really quick, and capitalize on that moment, or get you to the ground. If he's unable to get you to the ground, then I believe that he's going to lose. If you look at him traditionally, his fight with Albert Tumanov, he's getting beat up on the standing, but he's able to take Tumanov down. We all know with Tumanov, you're able to get him down, you're able to submit him. He's able to submit him. His fight with Alan Jouban, it's a close fight. He hurts Jouban, he gets him down, he submits him. His fight with Alex Oliveira is giving him hell standing. but he's able to get him down. He's able to submit him. He gets in trouble standing. In the beginning, it looks good. He's jumping in and out of range. He's hurting you. He's got a sneaky left hand. He's very quick, but you start to figure him out. You start to kick him a little bit. He does not catch kicks at all. You can kick this guy in the body. You can kick this guy in the leg. He doesn't seem to capitalize it and drive forward. He will try to bait you, wait, and then shoot a takedown, double leg, maybe a trip, maybe single leg against the cage, but he's not one that's just going to catch those kicks. So Edwards being that long-rangey guy, I think he's going to be able to stay on the outside. I think he's going to be able to use his jab. I think he's going to be able to kick him. Gunny, his head's there. Even though he's a karate guy and he's got a lot of movement, he doesn't really move side to side. He moves in and out. So I think Edwards is just going to do enough to point away at him. When I look at the minus 145, I don't mind it. Like, it should be a close fight, and Edwards is the favorite. But on a card that is close fights, and I got to make a pick if I want to pass on the main event, which I'm not particularly fond of, then I don't mind Leon Edwards. The issue with the DraftKings with the 8,300 is even though it's not a bad price, he just does traditionally not
his
score
style
high.
is not a
Does not
scoring
score high.
style for DraftKings.
His other notable big victories over not similar style opponents, but similar at least level, is his fight with Vicente Luque. Went 3 rounds. He didn't pay up to his price point. And his fight with Donald Cerrone, he scored 75 points. It was a 5-round fight, Paul. 75 points. Yeah. So this is a 3-round fight. And even if he was to score you 75 points here, not bad. It's still not getting what you would really want out of him. So I would say I have to pass at a DraftKings perspective, and I would probably look at the money line better than that. And if you are a Gunnar Nelson supporter and you think, hey, this guy's in great shape and whatever the case may be, yeah, for 7,900, at least if he does get a takedown, how often have you seen Leon Edwards with a guy like Gunnar Nelson on his back? Well, that's a great question. It could happen. So why not take the poke? But if you're playing one single lineup like the MMA Ironman contest, or you got to put your best guys forward, I don't know that he's my value play. And he's not even a great value play. He's kind of a mid-range play at 7,900.
Yep, 100%. We got Dominic Reyes taking on Volkan Oezdemir. Dominic Reyes, 9,300, a minus 265 favorite. Volkan is 6,900 and plus 225. Who you got?
I'm sold on Dominic Reyes. I don't know what it is, Paul, but I like this kid lots. Young prospect. I don't know. He's not super young, but a guy that's come along the right way, fought as an amateur, fought as a professional, getting better. He's smoked so many of these quote unquote opponents early. It was hard to get a gauge of him when he comes to UFC. They give him the Joachim Christensen treatment and he smokes him. What's he really got? Then they give him the Jeremy Kimball treatment. And he smokes him. What could you really expect? Then he gets Jared Cannonier. Now, Jared Cannonier is a guy that's going to pressure him, come forward. It is at 205. Cannonier obviously looks way better at 185. But still, it's not a joke of an opponent. He looks fantastic against Cannonier. Now, Dominic Reyes is a southpaw, and because he's like 6'3", 6'4", long-rangey guy, he eats up orthodox fighters. I think that the reason is because as a southpaw, he's probably dealt with so many orthodox training partners that he's just figured out a way that's his power stance. It's power stance when it's switched, right? So he eats up Cannonier, little shuffle left uppercut, drops this guy, knocks him out. It's a pretty looking win. Problem when you're knocking out guys so quick is that what's he going to look like once the going gets really tough? Now you get OSP. OSP is a former title challenger, baby. Went 5 rounds with John Jones. He's a perennial top 10 gatekeeper of the division. He's a tough guy. First round, I think Reyes looks good. Second and third round, it's like now he's going to get into territory. He faces some adversity. He does get hit. OSP does complete a takedown on him. But the way he hurt OSP at the end of that fight shows that here's a guy that carries power all the way through. And here's the other theory on it. When
he dug deep in a tough situation.
He dug deep. But when he's smoking guys like Cannonier and those guys, they were all orthodox fighters. And the thing with OSP is that he's a switch stance guy. He switches between southpaw and orthodox lots. So Reyes looks uncomfortable at periods of time, but eventually by the end of the third round, his power is transferred over. It's kept through all the way. He hurts him. If the fight's 3 seconds longer, he knocks out OSP, fight's over. It's a good performance out of him. I would say that he would learn and grow so much more from that fight having gone 3 rounds than any of these quick first round finishes. So now here's a guy that I know can go 3 rounds. His cardio looked good. His power looked good. He seems like the complete package. He's getting Volkan Oezdemir, who I truly believe is a flash in the pan. Just a guy that came around, won some knockouts, spectacular first round knockouts. A guy that's got big power. You don't want to stand in front of him.
We've seen this before at 205 where guys kind of come in, they go on a bit of a run.
It happens in every division. There's always a guy that'll come in, win 2-3 fights in a row by big spectacular knockouts.
And then you see what you saw before on tape.
And then they get tested. And ultimately, I think that's what happens with Volkan Oezdemir, is that he's had long layoffs in his career. He comes to the UFC. He himself fought OSP, and he wins the first 2 rounds, but completely gasses out. Well, let's give him a pass. It's short notice. Then he knocks out Misha in 30 seconds, which really in hindsight can happen with Misha. And then he gets a big win over Jimmy Manuwa. Again, in hindsight, you know, not
a guy
big,
who...
a big win, but like, you know what I'm saying. You
the
know
guy who, yeah, he doesn't have
So
much
now
of a
you
chin.
rush this guy to a title fight, and deservedly so. He gets dusted. No shame in that. It was expected to happen.
At 205, you can get a title shot without really beating
And then
anybody.
the Anthony Smith fight, he puts hands all over Anthony Smith, right? But again, his problem is similar to Reyes, is that when you got so many fights finishing in the first round, what's it going to look like when it gets to the second and third? And when he gets to the second and third, he crumpled right up. He really did. Dominic Reyes gets that second and third, he started to figure things out. He started to thrive. He started to move. Now, one thing I've always noted about Dominic Reyes is, as talented as he is, he's a former high school football standout. His brother, Alex Reyes, also fought in the UFC. His dad was their coach growing up. It's a fighting family, an athletic family. He seems to have all the goods. But one thing is, and it's no disrespect to Joe Stevenson, but like how much are you going to develop this guy? Like, you're obviously not his top training partner. He's a 205er. Like, where's he going to build? Where's he going to develop? He looks really good. But eventually guys like OSP are going to take him into deep water. How much better is he going to get? But this camp, he appears to be at Elevation Fight Team in Denver. He's training with Neil Magny. He's training with Curtis Blades. He seems to be in great shape. Again, I'm high up on this kid, and I'm not high up on Volkan Oezdemir. I think he can go out there. I think he can roll this guy up. Also, his submission game is sneaky good. If he takes your back, he'll style up on you. He's a guy that's competed at competition Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and done not bad. And if Volkan gets hurt and he gets tired and he gets his back taken, he could get submitted. Reyes could knock this guy out, or Reyes could theoretically style upon him. But $9,300, you'd better hope that all of those three things happen, because it's a big price tag. The $265, if you got it early line, it was a better price. Now people are jumping on the bandwagon, and deservedly so. I think he's got the potential to score big here and should get the victory. He's one of the guys on the card that I do like.
You're gonna have to explain this next one to me. Nathaniel Wood, 9,400 on DraftKings, minus 325 favorite. Jose Quinones is 6,800 and plus 265. I haven't really been all that impressed with Nathaniel Wood so far. Honestly, like, he was getting banged up against Johnny Eduardo in round 1. The guy gets hit a lot. He's super fun. Don't get me wrong.
Wow, that's why he's a high price tag. Probably.
I'm looking forward to watching him fight,
Yeah.
but like, I've seen holes in this guy's game, and minus 325 is a heavy price to be laying. I know that if he wins, he's probably going to score big, so it's like risky to like fade him. But Quinones isn't a complete and utter scrub. Like, I think he's live here at 6,800. I think he could do a lot worse. It's going to be violent. It's going to be fun. But it's really tough to trust Nathaniel Wood at that price tag, in my opinion. What about you?
Yeah, well, I think, again, a lot of the time when you're looking at how you're going to price somebody, you look at the fact that, okay, here's a big favorite, Nathaniel Wood. He's a 3-1 favorite. He's getting the hometown fight. They're trying to build his kid up. He's 25. And you look at his track record. Like you said, there's holes in his game. But why are there holes in his game? Because he's just super exciting. He goes to the finish every time out. His entire Cage Warriors run, for the most part, it's all finishes and like highlight reel finishes. This kid's got power. He's also got a good submission game. He comes to the UFC and blame it on whatever. Blame it on octagon jitters. Blame it on different class of opponent. Blame it on the fact that he's trying to stand with a guy like Jenny Eduardo for a prolonged period of time. He doesn't look good in the first round. Eduardo, inexplicably, decides to try to take this kid down, gets choked out.
Cashes his round 2 prop on Nathaniel Wood.
Yeah. Now the Andre Ewell fight. Here's a guy that's coming off a win over Renan Barao. Okay, maybe this guy's not too bad. Nathaniel Wood pieces him up. He goes out there. He's violent. He's always searching for the finish. He's eager. The issue is that Quinones is durable, you know? Like, again, like you said, he's not exactly a putz by any stretch of the imagination. He's on a good little streak right now. He's a guy that is a good striker, decent grappler. I wouldn't say has the jiu-jitsu edge, but is certainly competent. Why would Wood for the price tag of $9,400, there's kind of like that expectancy that he's going to go out there and just brush through him, no problem. But I don't exactly see it playing out that way. I can see him getting the win based on here. I think this is the younger, more agile athlete. I think he is better standing. I think he'll push a pace on him. One thing with Quinones is even though he's only 29, after he left tough Latin America, he's had a very kind of softish run in the UFC, but he was training at Alliance MMA. And I truly did believe that he was going to make improvements and his grappling was getting better, training with world-class guys on a daily basis. His wins in the UFC, Leonardo Morales. What can you take away from that? Then he beats Joey Gomez. He looked great against Joey Gomez. Diego Rivas. It was like, damn, Diego Rivas is undefeated. Again, Diego Rivas, think about that. Not a very good fighter. And then Teruto Ishihara, that was the beginning.
It was like one of the poster boys for busted prospects these days.
And a lot of people were on Quinones going into that fight. It wasn't even like it was a dog play. It was like people just knew Ishihara's done and this guy's serviceable enough. But you don't get that impression with Nathaniel Wood. See, Quinones was initially supposed to fight Sean O'Malley a couple months ago before O'Malley got red flagged. And it's almost like the UFC wants to build up O'Malley. Quinones is one of those tough guys, stand in front of you, give you a fun fight, but like he beats the lowest level guys, potentially you can beat him. Fight gets scrapped. They don't even rebook Quinones. They sit him on the shelf for 4 months and then decide him to send him all the way to England to fight another hot prospect that they're trying to kind of build up in Nathaniel Wood. So writing's on the wall that Nathaniel Wood should go get the victory, but it'll be a hard-fought victory. And that's the kind of price tag that does not suggest hard-fought victory. When you're that wild, like you mentioned, you open up holes. Why can he not get clipped? Why could he not get caught in a submission? Whatever the case.
This feels like when they sent Cody Stamen over to the UK, I believe it was, take on Tom Dugannoy. And it's just like, oh, they're sending him over to trying to pump up this one prospect. It's just like, well, I think Stamen has is a better fighter all around, and he's obviously got the wrestling pedigree and whatnot. But similar type of situation. UFC sometimes thinks that we're going to set it over. This is a nice little showcase fight. And it's just like, they fuck it up. They do it all the time. We've seen it over the years. It's like they screw up showcase fights. They're not like Bellator. In fairness, they don't have the absolute complete scrub losers that Bellator is willing to sign for some of these cards to feed to their emerging stars. But they have a track record of like underestimating the guy that's supposed to be the foil to make them shine. They have a history of messing this up, and I think this could be a spot where it happens. I don't have the balls yet to bet Jose Quinones, though. But they were sure making it enticing with that price tag. Very enticing. You know what? The one thing that's I don't know why I'm looking into it probably too much, is that, as I was mentioning before, he was at Alliance. He's making improvements. And then for this camp, he's left Alliance and spent it at Entrom in Mexico. So it's like, you would have stayed there and had a wicked camp. It's like $265, $6,800. Maybe the books know something that we do not.
Yeah, but in this case, it's like he's in Mexico. This Wood can do it all, but he leaves hole in his game, and it's a big tag. So I want to say pass, but this card's got a lot of passes, so you got to make plays some places.
For sure. Let's see. We got Claudio Silva taking on Danny Roberts. Claudio Silva is 7,600 and minus 145 favorite. Danny Roberts is 7,600 and plus 125. Who you got?
Okay, so this one is a fight, like a matchup that I've traditionally been very wrong on, because Danny Roberts, I've always been very high on Danny Roberts. Potentially too high in the sense that Danny Roberts going to let you down. And Claudio Silva, I think this guy is terrible. I honestly think he is no good. And yet he's 3-0 in the UFC. He's burnt me every time. So now we're getting a spot that it's really easy for me to just favor Danny Roberts over Claudio Silva. And then you show me a price tag like that of plus 125, some dog money on Danny Roberts, and $7,600 on a card that the low end plays are not all that appealing. Maybe you want to try to build a roster based on like those mid-range guys and save some money. Save every nickel if you can. You know what I mean? Every $100. But in this case, it's like, yeah, there's some value in that. You could get $7,600 for Danny Roberts in that. He's a much better striker than Claudio Silva. Yes, his takedown defense leaves something to the imagination, but Claudio Silva has no cardio. If Danny Roberts just plays this smart for once,
yeah, he doesn't. That's the issue.
He'll piece this guy up.
He doesn't play anything.
He'll piece this guy up, and he could go to decision, and he could win a decision, but he could score 80 points. And for $7,600, that would be good by me. So I'm looking at a play on Danny Roberts, as crazy as it sounds. Talk me out of it. I'd love to debate this one with somebody because I've got points to be made. But yeah, the play for me here is the dog.
Danny Roberts has never done anything that should get that much confidence out of you.
Why? What's your
Go
issue with
through his
Danny
record.
Roberts?
What has he done?
Okay, fair enough. I'm glad somebody brought that up.
What has he done? He shit the bed every step of the way.
No, yeah, fair enough. But he's also got wins. He's got power. He's the better striker in the spot. He's just got to keep the fight upright. He comes to the UFC. He has a swift little triangle choke on Nathan Coy. That means nothing because A, he got taken down by Nathan Coy, and B, you're not going to submit Claudio Silva. So let's throw that one out the window. Then he wins against Dominic Steele. He got taken down 6 times. He didn't look all that good. So we'll pass on that one. Then he's just like, he's not physical enough to fight a guy like Mike Perry, who's just like in his face. Also, his ring IQ, not very good. So when Perry decided to brawl with him, he just like game plan out the window, decided to brawl back and got knocked out. Okay, give you that. Bobby Nash. Bobby Nash takes him down twice in the first round. Not a great first round. Then he knocks out Bobby Nash in the second round, but not a great fight. Then he literally gets frozen in time against Nordine Taleb. He's on the cage. That head kick like freezes him up. And then the hook literally just puts a knife to him. Doesn't look good. Beats Oliver Enkamp with a quick little knockout. Nice knockout, but it's Enkamp. And then does not look good against David Zawada. Gives up some takedowns. Should have won a unanimous, but won a split. There's every reason in the world for why you should want to avoid Danny Roberts. I completely agree. But that's why there's a good price tag on him. And that's why I feel like now's the time, baby. Claudio Silva is, as unimpressive as that just sounded from, we just went over his record, as unimpressive as that sounded.
Everybody
that
he's beat doesn't have a job. I don't know about Enkamp.
Yeah, doesn't have a job. Okay. I somehow do truly believe that Claudio Silva is a level below that.
I just think if you're relying on Danny Roberts to stop takedowns, it only takes one, as we learned in the Nordine Taleb fight with Claudio Silva, who had been gone for all this time. Now he's back, probably had a full proper camp leading into this one. There's a lot more information about him. We're relying on Danny Roberts to not give up a takedown.
No.
We could be in big time trouble.
He might give up a takedown. It's that he's just got to make this guy work. And then eventually he'll have a guy in front of him that can't move. Claudio Silva has no wrestling, and he has no striking.
He got the fight to the ground against Nordine Taleb.
I know, that was a mistake on Nordine's part.
Yeah, you think Danny Roberts isn't going to go out there and shit the bed, make mistakes like he's done every step of the way anytime he's had a half-decent opponent?
Nordine's on the ground with Claudio Silva. There's a moment where he can attempt to stand. Instead, you know what he does? He decides to roll for a knee bar against a black belt. I don't know why. It's his demise, and he loses. Danny Roberts makes poor decision, yes. But out grappling Claudio Silva, I can't imagine that's going to be one of the poor decisions he'll make in this fight. So when I look
famous last words.
What impresses you about Claudio? The one fight against this happens.
Danny Roberts goes in there, like goes for an Imanari roll or something to go catch a knee bar. You'll be like, oh god damn it! Why did I do this to myself again?
Okay, we'll move past this fight, but I'll make my last point on Claudio Silva.
Sure.
He fights Xavier Fupapakam, 2-time UFC veteran, by the way. 22-17 on the regional before he comes to the UFC. He gasses out completely. He was in the Super Fight League in India. He gasses out completely. He looks terrible, but he got the decision. He took off 2 years almost after that fight. Made his debut in the UFC against Brad Scott. He looked terrible against Brad Scott. He was not one of these submission specialists like you're talking about that took Brad Scott down and submitted him. He got Brad Scott down. Wasn't able to submit him. Fight goes 3 rounds. He gasses out. He wins 2 of the 3 rounds. He gets a 29-28. Then he fights Leon Edwards. That's the only reason people value this guy, is because he beat Leon Edwards in a fight that in the first round, he took Edwards down. In the second round, Edwards kicked his ass. He looked completely gassed out in the second. And in the third round, Paul, he managed to get Edwards down at the beginning of the round, take his back, out-grapple him, hold him down. That's the one victory that he's held. For 4 years, he was away from the sport. For 4 years. 4 years, Paul. He goes from like 31 to like 36 years old, sitting on the sideline.
Comes back and looks just like it looks like time hasn't even passed. Just storms through Nordine Taleb, who was on a run.
But when he was 31 years old, he had no gas tank, and he would get no wrestling, no gas tank, and barely squeaked by Edwards and Brad Scott and Xavier Fupapakam. It was embarrassing, but he barely squeaked by them. Then 4 years later, he comes back. I fully expect he's going to gas against Nordine Taleb. I fully expect he doesn't have a gas tank. He suddenly did not get one. But he gets him on the ground and he submits him so quickly. It's like, oh, damn. When Danny Roberts loses, Danny Roberts gets clipped and gets knocked out. Danny Roberts is not going out there and getting submitted in the first round really quickly. So even if he does get taken down in the first round, and maybe he does, in the second round, when Silva's completely tired, Danny Roberts is still going to be there. Danny Roberts is still going to be landing strikes. Danny Roberts is going to push him, win 2 and 3. It's in England. If it's close, he'll get the win. He's dog money. He's $7,600. As unsexy as it sounds, that's my piece. I'm taking hot chocolate.
Danny Roberts will be tapping round 1. We got Jack Marshman taking on John Phillips. Jack Marshman 8,800 minus 165 favorite. John Phillips is 7,800 or 7,400 and plus 145. This is gonna be violent.
Yep.
They haven't released props yet. I haven't seen the line. Hopefully they release a really bad line on this, because honestly, fight doesn't go the distance in this one. Just seems like just hammer time on this. I know that usually John Phillips, he gets finished when you're able to wrestle him, take him to the ground. But like, these guys are just going to be swinging on each other. Somebody's going to sleep. I think it's John Phillips, who I think is truly awful. And if Marshman is so inclined, I imagine anybody on the UFC roster probably has a grappling advantage over John Phillips.
Yeah, fair. He does.
He is that bad on the ground. This is going to be violent. This is going to be fun. Fight gets finished inside the distance. Like, that is a massive parlay piece. I don't know what the odds are on it yet, because they've been slow on props this week. I think they're scared to release it, because like, that's one that I'm in like that Gamble Master pool. It's just like, I even thought about it last time. Like, do I just roll, like, as soon as that prop gets open, I just roll like a ton of my bankroll onto that play in general? Because like, you try to catch an early line on that and just hammer it, because like, that I just would be shocked if this one goes to the decision.
I've seen crazier things happen before, but
Sure.
yeah, it certainly seems like both guys are pretty evenly matched. In fact, if you've followed their careers at all, shocking that this fight has not happened already. They've been around the same guys, they've been at the same level, they've been in the same promotion. I'm glad it's finally going to happen. But yeah, they match up pretty similar. Marshman has the grappling advantage though, but Phillips has a better chin. And so this fight's going to be crazy. If they stand and they brawl like you suspect, Phillips is going to knock this guy out. If Marshman goes out there and brawls with him long enough to take his ass down, there's a good chance that Marshman's going to submit him. I feel like as far as the money line goes, you should probably dog or pass, or you should pass. But as far as DraftKings go, you might need to play this, because on one hand, you've got John Phillips at $7,400. On a card where you're trying to save money, this is a good play. He could theoretically get you a first round knockout and score a tremendous amount of points if this fight does not hit the ground. If Marshman plays into his game, he could score a lot. He's $7,400. Why not take the poke on him? As far as Marshman goes, he's $8,800. He's expensive. But that's only because guys that fight John Phillips typically score a lot of points. So justifiably so, if that's the guy you're going to put your hat on, you're probably going to want him on your DraftKings rosters as well. But this is a tough fight. I mean, both guys worry me. It's tough to say with Marshman if he doesn't have a chin, or if it's a case of, you get knocked out and you rebound and you come back. But there's a lot of danger when you're fighting a one-dimensional guy in John Phillips that is unorthodox, throws absolute heat-seeking missiles at you. The guy's nickname is the White Mike Tyson. I don't think they say that on UFC broadcast, but that was his nickname prior to getting signed to the UFC. The guy just throws bombs at you. You can't get into a slugfest with him. And Marshman's issue is that he's a lifelong boxer. He's a military guy, but he boxed in the military. That's his background. He's got a couple okay submission wins here and there, but typically he wants to go out there and he wants to get in a slugfest with you and outstrike you. And that would be a terrible game plan against Phillips. I think he's smart enough to switch it up, get the takedown, and maybe defeat Phillips. But when I look at that price tag, it's like, it's very tempting to take that poke at $7,400 because he could pay off a lot.
Yeah, fair enough. We move on. We've got Arnold Allen taking on Jordan Rinaldi. Arnold Allen, 8,700 minus 140 favorite. Jordan Rinaldi is 7,500 and plus 120. What's your take here?
Yeah, I'm going back and forth. I mean, I could see wanting to get behind Jordan Rinaldi. Again, he's dog money. He's $7,500. I don't know that I could fully commit to it. He's got the goods to go out there and give Arnold Allen hell. Namely that he can splice in his serviceable striking with his takedown game. If he can get this fight to the ground, I think he's a Sergio Pena brown belt. out of Las Vegas, although he's training in North Carolina currently. But, guys grappled at a pretty high level. If he could take down Arnold Allen, he could pose threats. But Allen's young. He's youthful. He should theoretically be getting better every fight. 25 years old, training full-time at TriStar. He's a guy that's been plagued by injuries. He's been fighting in the UFC for 4 years. He's got 4 UFC fights. He fights once a year. That I don't like. The layoffs, I don't like. But again, 25 years old, he's not like he's going to be getting worse. He's not like he's regressing. He is getting better. It's just not as much as we'd like to see out of him. Not as much cage time as we'd like to see out of him. When we do see him compete, it's dicey. And they're all learning performances. And if he did it 3 times a year, he'd be way further along. But instead, it's once a year. It's a dicey performance. And then there's another one once a year. So Arnold Allen's a guy that even though he's on a nice little winning streak right now, and even though he's 4-0 in the UFC, I'm not overly impressed with this guy. When I look at Jordan Rinaldi, 2-2 in the UFC, has had some tough fights, has looked okay, coming off a big win over Jason Knight, takedowns, 3 takedowns, hold down Jason Knight, don't get submitted. Why can't he go do the same thing against Arnold Allen? I just think Arnold Allen's stronger than Jason Knight. He'll push more of a pace on him. When he does get taken down, he's going to get back up. His
takedown defense looks pretty solid. That's one thing I've
seen.
Who,
Allen?
Allen?
No.
Yeah.
No way. Arnold Allen's takedown defense.
Yeah.
What do you like
most
about
of his
that?
Fights, I seem to remember.
No. Here's what I look about.
Him looking, getting himself out of trouble.
Well, he fights Alan Omer in his UFC debut. He loses the first 2 rounds to Alan Omer. In the 3rd round, he snags up a guillotine choke and wins. It's like, damn, down 2 rounds. But he came back, faced some adversity, got the win. Then he beats Yautsin Mates at 30-27. It's Yautsin Mates. He's there to do a job. He knows it. You know it. He does the job. Last decision, 30-27. Then he fights Makwan Amirkhani. Now, Amirkhani's billed as a wrestler. He's got okay grappling, okay wrestling. He loses a split, although I thought Arnold should have beat him straight up. But Makwan Amirkhani lands 4 takedowns. One of them didn't get registered, but maybe 4 or 5 takedowns even on Arnold Allen. The thing is, Arnold Allen's stronger than Amirkhani, so when he does get taken down, for the most part, he's able to get back up. When he faces adversity in that fight, it's Amirkhani's able to take him down. Then it's the fight with Mads Burnell. Mads Burnell's 24 years old. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. That would imply this is a kid that got a black belt really soon, so he must be one of these, I've done jiu-jitsu my whole life. Not a wrestler. You'd have to spend a lot of time doing specifically jiu-jitsu to get a black belt, a decent black belt, that early on. Not a wrestler. He took him down 6 fucking times. He took down Arnold Allen. The first round, very close. The second round, Arnold Allen loses based on Mads Burnell taking him down. And in the 3rd round, Arnold Allen needs a finish. Wouldn't you know it, he grabs that same old guillotine choke that he's bailed him out in his prior fight against Alan Omer. So this is a guy that hasn't looked particularly great in the UFC. But on paper, he's 4-0, and he's beating guys, and he's strong. I'm not sold on his takedown defense. What I do like is when he gets taken down, he can get back up. Yeah. He's strong enough to get back up. And I think Rinaldi will take him down, but I think he'll get back up. And I think when he does get back up, he'll push some type of pace. Rinaldi's a very tempting price tag because I know I'm going to get 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 takedowns out of him. And if he can then put in, he's not a ground and pound guy, so maybe another 25, 30 significant strikes with my 3-4 takedowns and a decision win. It's tempting, but not really tempting enough. I got to think Allen squeaks one out. Again, in England, if he just does enough. He's a guy that's won close fights. Taking on a guy in Jordan Rinaldi that's going to provide him a close fight as an American coming over here, I do see Allen squeaking out a close decision. Probably a fight that you avoid, but similar to other fights on this card, he could get, it could be a close fight that he gets a hometown shaken, and that's what I would expect here. So Allen avoided the 8,700 on DraftKings. I don't think he pays it up. Rinaldi, very tempting. If I had to, if it was a cash game, I think I would have a poke at it. But outside of that, give me the golden boy.
We got Irish Joe Duffy taking on Mark Diakiese. Joe Duffy is 9,100 on DraftKings, -190 favorite. Diakiese is 7,100 and a +165 underdog. Kind of the tale of like busted prospects.
Yeah.
Busted Euro prospects that we had. You know, Joe Duffy, when he came over, this is the guy who beat Conor McGregor.
Last man to do it at that point.
And we're kind of now at
Pro boxer.
He'd spent all of his time doing that. And he was, he's filled in his game. He's been at TriStar. The guy's super skilled, and we've seen what he can do when things are rolling. But we've also seen that he can be ahead. He can be landing shots, and James Vick can knock you out in round 2 just from starting to. It looks like Joe Duffy maybe slows down a little bit. Like his gas tank isn't the best. Maybe he's worked on that. He's had quite a bit of time off since that last fight. On the other hand, DIAKIESE, it looks like
talking about gas tanks, Doug.
1, gas tank. 2, grappling is not great. He can really be exploited. I remember which fight was it recently where you were talking about getting DIAKIESE to go for takedowns and stuff.
Oh yeah,
His last fight out, wasn't it?
Yeah, against Hakparas. Well, why would you want to stand with Hakparas? Which he did. Bad idea.
Yeah. I just don't think DIAKIESE has any sort of grappling game.
I think he's got to do the same thing here. I think he's got to go for takedowns.
You think he's gonna have to try to take down Joe Duffy?
Yeah, I think he's gonna strike Joe Duffy.
And then Joe Duffy's
the undefeated pro boxer with better hands.
Joe Duffy's gonna fuck him up
if he stands with him.
I don't think DIAKIESE has much of a. I don't see this wrestling game. I'm definitely picking Joe Duffy.
Well, then you're definitely that's the answer.
You think Mark DIAKIESE is going for takedowns?
Well, I was actually
doesn't do it.
I know.
He just doesn't do it. Once he got that like spinning back, the marquee knockout that he got, like that's all this guy is in for at this point.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if you wouldn't mind giving me that number for the Gamblers Anonymous because
1-800-GAMBLER.
I'm considering that this one would be a dog or pass play for me, and at 165 DIAKIESE would be the only play I make. I like Joe Duffy. I like this guy a lot, personality-wise, entertainment as far as his fight goes. But I can't trust him with $1. I really can't. He just I don't like you said. Maybe it's a cardio issue. I don't know. But he's a fast starter, and then outside of that, he kind of breaks apart. And he's had a lot of injuries. I mean, this is a guy that fought MMA, took a long time off to pursue pro boxing, came back, has fought sporadically in the UFC. And yes, his losses are of the highest caliber. But again, in the Dustin Poirier fight, he starts good, man. He has a good first round. I think he hurts Dustin Poirier a little bit in the first round. But beyond that, he starts getting taken down and the wheels fall right off the wagon. It's like, okay, no problem. Comes back, beats Mitch Clark. What can you take out of that? The Reza Madadi fight, not a great fight for him. But again, whatever. You take what you can out of it. Then he fights James Vick. He takes like 9 months off. Then he fights James Vick. He has a good first round. In the second round, you see the wheels start to come off. And then he eventually loses. He says early stoppage. It is what it is. But then he takes like 14, 15 months off after this. And now he's back against DIAKIESE. DIAKIESE's on a 3-fight losing streak. He looks bad right now. He was training full-time at ATT. Lost those 3 fights. Now he's back at a small little gym in England. That's not inspiring. He's 1 fight away from being cut from the UFC. And the UFC, again, no doubt, if you're looking for storylines, wants Joe Duffy to win this fight. At least they can market this guy a little bit as the former guy that beat Conor McGregor, lost to Dustin Poirier. Who cares about that? You can build this guy up. You can potentially he's got a bit of a name. DIAKIESE, send him back to the regional scene. But this has got danger written all over it. Because again, I think DIAKIESE's going to try to have to out-grapple him. And even though I give the jiu-jitsu advantage to Joe Duffy, I think Joe Duffy's got better submissions. If it's DIAKIESE on him, he doesn't got great ground and pound. But if it's DIAKIESE on top of him, chipping away at him, stalling him, doing a little bit just to demoralize him and tire him, Joe Duffy been off 14, 15 months. If his cardio doesn't check out, his cardio wasn't checking out when he was fighting regularly with a full camp. Now he's got, again, full camp, but injuries have plagued him. He's a little bit older. He's going to have ring rust. So if that leads to him tiring, DIAKIESE could squeak it. It'd be greasy. But he's $7,100, so it's like that's what you expect sometimes. That's what it'll come down to. Also with Joe Duffy, he's not above maybe getting finished if it goes late. I don't necessarily see it. And DIAKIESE's explosive at times. He's got big power, but one or 2 punches at a time. He's got decent submissions, but it's got to be like a raw, right in the moment, grab a hold of it. I don't see him knocking out Duffy. I don't see him submitting Duffy, but I could see him just grinding Duffy in a very unsexy way. So $7,100 plus 165. If you're looking for a dog, I know it sounds crazy, but you know what also sounded crazy? Danny Roberts. So let's roll with it because cards are crazy every week. Shit happens.
Hundo P. All right, we got Nick Negumeranu taking on Saperbeg Safarov. Negumeranu is 9,000 on DraftKings, minus 175 favored. Safarov, 7,200 plus 155. This guy, Negumeranu, hasn't really fought anybody. Recent opponents, all with like
losing records.
Egregiously big like losing records, like gas cans, basically. 9-0. He's gotten through. Saperbeg is a walking punching bag, Phil. So I'm interested to hear your take on it. I haven't watched any tape yet on NEGUMEREANU, so I'm a little bit behind. It's the players golf this week, so it's like I've been pretty busy with golf. Basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday here. We record on a Wednesday night for people to
Oh, geez,
understand.
Paul. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Real bogged down with golf, are you?
so much golf.
Yeah.
But so I don't know much about him yet. I just know that he's kind of untested. Safarov is very, very durable for the most part. Not great submission defense, but he can take a punch. Like we've seen him go to war, take an absolute beating. The guy looks like he's like 97 years old. Probably claims that he's in his 30s, but like
Well,
that
that's what I'm obviously getting to.
Yeah,
you know?
Here's your greasy theories. Cody Saftic,
Wow,
greasy theory on Safarov. Take one.
Well, I called it on both of his prior UFC fights, but I have a friend of mine. I won't name him. I have a friend of mine. I always tell him, man, you should make picks. You should go tell. You should have a show. Doesn't want to. He gives you like a pick every 2-3 months, but he's never wrong. I call it a tip. He'll give you a tip every now and again, and this guy's never wrong. So Safarov's gonna make his debut in the UFC, and the word is around the Twitter community and the betting community is here's an undefeated Russian fighter, right? But my guy says he's lying about his age. He's older, and he's missing one of his ACLs. He's got a bum knee coming into his fight with Gian Villante. So I bet a bunch on Gian Villante. Thing is with betting a bunch of Gian Villante is sometimes Gian Villante finds a way to beat himself, and he damn near does. He fights. Safarov knows he can't shoot takedowns in that fight. His knee's completely compromised. It buckles on him multiple times. After the first round, there's about 4 or 5 doctors in the ring looking at his knee, being like, walk, do 2 crunch, like, show that you can move on this thing. That's how fucked his knee was, Paul. All the same, they let him fight. All he could do was just swing bombs. And Villante decided to just swing bombs too, got dropped twice. Thrilling fight, but Safarov loses. Safarov takes like over a year off after that fight. Comes in against Tyson Pedro. Now he's older. He does not look good. He gets submitted in the first round. In that fight, he attempted to shoot takedowns, which is something I didn't think he could do on the knee. But he had like 13, 14 months off, so it's possible that he repaired the knee. He just didn't look good. You probably can't train at a high level in the knee. Here's another thing. His fight before he came to the UFC, he fought Rodney Wallace. And if you look at that fight, he's wearing a knee brace on the other knee than the one he has apparently injured in the Gian Villante fight. So I bet you he's got 2 bad knees. That's going to hamper his training. That's going to hamper everything. He's not particularly a big guy at 205, and therefore I think he's not able to really cut the weight to make middleweight. So he just shows up, does what he has to do. He's in a compromised state, and they brought him. He's 0-2 in the UFC. He's been dusted both times. He's older. There's nothing you can gain from this guy. So what do? You pair him up with Gokhan Saki, who you're paying a lot of money to, and you need to get the war wagon back on track. So you give him to Gokhan Saki. Thing is, Gokhan Saki gets hurt. So you bring in this Romanian Negumereanu, and Negumereanu is just, he's so green, Paul. He's unbelievably green. He's a poor man's, no, he's not a poor man's. He's a Ion Kudalaba if you took the fighting spirit and the aggression right out of his body. Like, he's very raw. His striking doesn't have the same power, but it's loopy. He'll throw it. If he touches you, he can do some damage. He throws it to get a hold of you. And once he gets a rear waist body lock on you, he will fucking suplex you on your head. He's extremely strong. His cardio seems to check out. One thing when you get these really raw, like Romanian type wrestlers, because that's where he's cut his teeth, is the RXF scene, is that you see them get these quick finishes and you assume, you know what, here's a guy that's going to go out there and try to smash and burn out quick. But he goes out there and he's so lackadaisical. Maybe because he knows he's not in danger, maybe because he doesn't have to do much, but he really takes his time. And because he takes his time, he doesn't overexert himself, he doesn't get tired. And Safarov's literally only case scenario here is that he catches you early, because he's not going to have the gas, nor is his body going to hold up. Look at him versus Villante. Yeah, he's hurt multiple times, but he's cooked by the time the second round rolls around. He's tired. He's got no more offense. His hands are lowered. He's in a compromised state. Here's a Sambo specialist, not even attempting one single takedown against Gian Villante. Why is that? Incapable of doing it. So this kid, he's not very good, but he's green and he's learning, and that might be all you need. It really might be all you need. The 9,000, God, I would rather flip the dice on a guy like Marshman or maybe, you know, pay up a couple extra $100 and go with somebody like Dominic Reyes. But, you know, if you expect this fight to not go the distance, and most people don't, then why not roster him for the 9,000? The 175, I think it's reflective of the fact that he's taken it on short notice. He's unknown. He's fought absolute cans. And if you watch footage on him, he's got a combined like 9 minutes in his entire career. He's only started fighting pro in 2016 is when he started. But Safarov's been shot since 2015. So it's like sometimes you just got to go with the age and the athleticism over the old war dog.
Yeah, Tom Breeze taking on Ian Heinisch. Tom Breeze is 8,400 minus 140 favorite. Heinisch is 7,800 plus 120. Who you got?
Well, Ian Heinisch is my boy. But at the same time, Tom Breeze is my boy that has let me down multiple times. So, not let me down multiple times as much as you expect a lot out of this guy. Like the Nakamura fight, the Cody Nakamura fight. Didn't let me down, he won.
No, but
it's
he was
like,
fighting in a ring. Like, he was fighting on the ground. He very likely should have lost that fight, to be perfectly honest. He was like...
I thought he won, but the price tag, he was 6
He was like the stone cold chalk
Whoa.
on DraftKings. Like, everyone was expecting this, you know, British prospect to just roll through, and he got into a grappling affair when he should not have.
Yeah, and here's my issue when I want to get behind Tom Breeze is I've always just been sold on it. He's got a very long frame for the division, just in general, long, lanky guy. A guy that has very good boxing. Could have perhaps pursued pro boxing, but good, rangy boxer, good enough power, young, athletic, smart, wrestling seems to check out enough. And his grappling's good. I think he was a purple belt at the time, but like a high-level purple belt, developing, training at TriStar. He didn't train at TriStar very long. He didn't really get along with it, and that happened. The same thing happened with Sage Northcutt, but people were suggesting he couldn't handle the rigorous 2-a-days at TriStar, so he went back to England. And then you look at it. Debuts against Louis Dutra Jr. and smokes him out of the water. Expected. Fights Cathal Pendred, smokes him out of the water. Expected. Against Kaida Nakamura, he was supposed to just do the same thing. Like, the guy looked hot. He was like we're talking about with the Volkan Oezdemirs of the world and the Johnny Walkers of the world and the Mike Perrys of the world. You win a couple hot fights, everybody's on you. Everybody's on Tom Breeze. Doesn't look at it against Kaida Nakamura. And then he followed that up by looking, again, terrible against Sean Strickland. Loses the decision, takes time off, comes back, dusts Dan Kelly. Expected. Now he's been off a year again. So... when he takes guys that he's supposed to just smoke out of there, yeah, he's capable of doing it. When he gets those tests, those Sean Stricklands, those Kaida Nakamuras, those savvy veterans, those guys with good grappling chops that are able to push him into deeper waters, they give him trouble. And Heinisch is that. Heinisch is gritty. Heinisch has seen some shit, man. Rikers Island shit, too. That's the intense stuff. The guy's durable. The guy's crafty. The guy's coming off a UFC debut where he gets the victory on short notice as the underdog against Cesar Ferreira and showed a lot of promise. Decent striking, decent wrestling, decent grappling. A guy that's kind of a jack of all trades, a master of none. But I want to get behind Breeze still. I really do. It's that this is the spot that screams Breeze has not looked great. Just because all the skills there on paper, what you see, he's like Sean Strickland, who he lost to. Sean Strickland's got all the skill in the world. You train with Sean Strickland, you get fucked up. But when you fight Sean Strickland, he just can't pull the trigger or he can't put it all together. Or for whatever reason, he's just not fulfilling his potential. And to me, Breeze has largely been the same thing. The minus 140 is so tempting because, you know, if we're just going for talent and athleticism and potential, Breeze has got to be leaps and bounds higher than Ian Heinisch. But what we've seen from recent
spirit, the heart, that's what
recent performances are going to suggest Heinisch is going to give him hell.
Me and you have been pretty high on post recognizing his chin issues, Cesar Mutanchi, and this guy knew exactly how to fight that fight against Cesar Mutanchi.
Yeah,
like, it was impressive. I underestimated him, and we ended up getting burned a little. Like, he didn't look out of place whatsoever. He looked like he was up to the task, and Cesar's a really tricky fight.
I think almost with Tom Breeze is that he came from a small gym to start out his career. And he's so unbelievably talented that I bet you when you train with this guy again, like Sean Strickland, he's just the best guy in the room. So as a result, he gets lackadaisical. He doesn't get pushed in training. He doesn't get hurt in training. So when he fights, I see that in him. There's no urgency in him. There's no willingness to go out there and make it happen. There's no, Tom, it's a 1-1 going into the third. I need something out of you. It's just he goes through the motions like it's a sparring match. And that'll get you victories in the UFC, especially if the guy's chinny and unprepared and leaps below you, you're going to catch him and beat him. But when guys are going to get in your face, make it greedy and push you, that's your real test of mettle. And so far, he's 1-1 in those tests of metals. Kaito Nakamura, he did win. And obviously, the loss against Sean Strickland. But Ian Heinisch, his entire life story, his entire style is... If he's down 2 rounds, he's not going to quit. If it's 1-1, he's going to go for it. If he's up 2, he's going to go for it. The guy doesn't coast. And even though I do think Breeze is the better fighter, Heinisch is going to make this a real problem for him. So this one's got a big warning on it for me.
Yep. We've got Dan Ige taking on Danny Henry. Dan Ige, 8,200, minus 145 favorite. Danny Henry is 8,000 and plus 125. We've been seeing Danny Henry has kind of relied on his grappling a whole bunch of the way here. Dan Ige, I think that's going to be... Dan Ige, he's like training with Habib and that whole crew. This guy is seemingly putting in the work. You know that anatomy of the fighter? That guy's always there on every video. Like at every fight card, he's just there, grinding away, making improvements. British grappler... taking on obviously Hawaiian, not exactly like the wrestling pedigree of American, like all American or anything like that. But I think we're seeing the improvements kind of show up in front of us from Dan Ige. I see him utilizing that grappling and being able to kind of expose Danny Henry, who I think has been not a flash in the pan, but has been, fighting above his medal so far. So Dan Ige, 8,200. I kind of like that. What about you? Yeah, see,
Henry has really thrown me off. Danny Henry has. I thought he was billed as a Scottish Muay Thai fighter. I did not know he was a grappler. And in his fight with Daniel Tamor, not to be confused with the slightly more talented David, far more talented David. Can't shit on the guy. He's not looked good recently though. But he fights Big Bro. And it's a slobber knocker of a fight, Paul. Like, it's a sloppy-ass fight. But he does what he's got to do. He gets the victory. He's like chopped liver coming in against Hakeem Dawodu. I'm all in on Hakeem Dawodu. I'll let you know that was the worst I've ever done on a card. Because I got fucked by Ankalaev versus Paul Craig just prior from a 4 minutes, 59 seconds submission of the third round, which caused me to go full tilt on Hakeem Dawodu.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But he got dropped and then submitted. So again, I don't think Danny Henry is one-dimensional. I think he's got good striking and I think he's got crafty submissions. What he doesn't got is wrestling, and he doesn't got the submissions to submit a high-level guy. Ige is not necessarily a high-level guy, but as you mentioned, trains with the best of the best. I believe he's a BJJ brown belt. He's wrestled to a decent level, I think, I want to say collegiately, but definitely at a high school level. And he's putting it all together. His first fight with Julio Arce, not a great indication of his skills. Because Arce, he's not a one-dimensional guy. He's got wrestling and he's got boxing. And that's going to eat a guy up like Ige. Because Ige's wrestling not good enough to get Arce down. And Ige's second skill is jiu-jitsu. Arce is going to pick him apart. Mm-hmm. But Ige seemed to settle beyond that. He can get takedowns. He uses his striking sparingly to get a hold of you, to grind you, doesn't get tired, smart guy, decent ring IQ, getting better. Again, when you train surrounded by the best guys, it's going to happen. When I look at Danny Henry, as fun as his career has been in the UFC so far, and as much as people have definitely underestimated this guy, because, man, Daniel Tamor was undefeated at the time, and he was the older brother of David, who was kick-ass at the time. So Henry was largely underestimated in both of his fights, and has yet pulled it off. But he went to decision with Daniel Tamor. Daniel Tamor doesn't go to decision with no man, because literally after the first round, he'll just crumple over and die. And in his 2 subsequent fights, he lost. By, finish, obviously. when he beat Hakeem Dawodu, he busted Hakeem Dawodu up. He dropped him and he submitted him. This is his first fight since over a year. Hakeem Dawodu lost that fight, got dropped, and got choked out. He's fought twice since then. So Danny Henry's not even being active. He's probably been dealing with injuries, and now he's jumping back in here, giving up the wrestling advantage and the grappling advantage likely to Dan Ige. I think Henry's a better striker. I think if this fight stays striking, or if he's able to stuff the takedowns, or if Ige doesn't go to the takedowns, I think Danny Henry outstrikes him. But because I expect Ige to try to implore one of those Khabib type game plans of kill all of the space. This guy's taller than me. He's rangier than me. He's potentially a better striker than me. Kill all of the space in between. Get a hold of him. If I can't take him down, grind him up against the cage long enough to eventually get him down. And I'm probably a better grappler. That's what he's got to do. And for minus 145, willing to play it. For 8,200, willing to play it.
Sounds like we're on the same page on that one. Let's see what happens in this next one. We've got Molly McCann taking on Priscilla Catch a Beating. And, well, she did.
Wow. Yeah, anybody. Would you think Molly McCann does any better? Serious question. Serious question. Do you
She
think
took
Molly
on
McCann does
Jillian
any better?
Robertson, who actually has some sort of ground game. Honestly, like Priscilla, that matchup against Shevchenko
Should have never happened.
That never should have happened. It was so bad. You watch tape and you're just like, this is not gonna go well. This is not gonna go well whatsoever. And what happens? It went worse than I even thought it was going to. One, because Heart Shape, Mr. Mario Yamasaki, he just wanted to let her be a warrior that day. And frankly,
He wanted her to hit the over 1.5.
I guess so. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense. Molly McCann, I saw an interview with her, and like, trust me, it was what it was. She was like, all I've done since that last fight is work on my jiu-jitsu, work on my ground game. I don't want to be a flash in the pan that I was, Cage Warriors champion, blah, 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 blah. I've really made the improvements. I think I could submit her. It's just like, all right, stop. Wait a second. Don't do that. When you watch Priscilla Catch a Beating, when she's throwing punches, like she is winging them. They're real sloppy. Like this girl should not be fighting at this level. This is a setup fight to get the Liverpudlian back on track. Bring Priscilla, who hasn't fought since like she got absolute the most vicious beating that I've seen on a UFC card. Sustained beating. I think she scored 1 point. I think she landed like 2 significant strikes, and Valentina put up like 140 burger on her. Like it was ridiculous. Give me Molly McCann. I think it'll be a stand-up fight between the two of them. I don't see a ground game that is impressive enough from Cachoeira. This is the perfect kind of like get right spot. I don't think McCann does anything really significant after here, but I think she puts up decent numbers against Cachoeira in this fight.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Molly McCann looked not phenomenal, but looked okay as far as prospect goes for this division coming into the UFC as the Cage Warriors champion. Her boxing, pretty fundamentally sound. She pushes a good pace. She's short, she's seemingly hard to take down. She got exploited hard by Jillian Robertson. And whereas certainly at the time I was like, damn, this is an issue. Jillian Robertson's going to do that to mid-level talent in this division where mid-level grappling is going to carry you through. Mm-hmm. And she's big and she's strong. She's kind of a better wrestler than these girls. She could take them down and submit them. And we've seen that for Jillian Robertson. She's not spectacular, but she's got the skills to go out there and be successful. And when I look at Molly McCann, it's like, damn, that was kind of a bad matchup for her because her skill is she wants to keep this fight standing, box you up, push the pressure, tire you out. And when she's getting smothered by a bigger fighter on the ground, that's going to be an issue. Against Cachoeira, shouldn't be an issue. Again, standing, she's going to flop some punches, but the shorter, more technically sound boxer in Molly McCann should piece her up. If the fight does hit the ground, Molly McCann's saying all the right things. She is a better boxer. She's the better striker here. But how is she going to lose this fight? By getting taken down and getting smothered and getting submitted. It happened against Jillian Robertson. You got to fix your holes. She's tried to do that. They've given her a homecoming fight. She's in England. She's going to have the crowd behind her. And she's taking on someone in Cachoeira that this is not the word on the street. This is the greasy word on the street. Take that for what you is. Apparently, Cachoeira's landlord had to evict her from her apartment because the neighbors complain that Cachoeira gets night terrors in the middle of the night where she's like, no, Valentina, stop. No, Valentina, stop. And I don't fucking blame her because sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night. This sounds like bullshit. That's why it's a greasy word on the street.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up and have the same fucking night terrors. I say, No, Mario Yamasaki. No, Mario Yamasaki, stop it. It was a horrific scene. No wonder she hasn't fought since. That was like a career worth of damage in like the span of 9 minutes and 25 seconds.
It was like Daniel Hooker, that beating recently. Like that one was really bad too. But at least Daniel Hooker was like
conscious.
He looked like, when we got later into that fight, he had no way of getting back into the fight. But
yeah, but here's the difference. Daniel Hooker was getting hit.
He deserved to be in that spot. Cachoeira it was her debut. She had fought nobody, and she's fighting the best girl on the planet. Like, it was just so bizarre.
Yeah, there's differences there. In my opinion, the Hooker fight...
It was irresponsible.
The Hooker fight, his brain was still operating on a level, telling him, throw punches back, move. Barbosa was just absolutely killing him. But his brain was complying to a certain extent. When I looked at Cachoeira, she just couldn't do nothing. But, like, she was... That was a bailout. The other difference is, in the Hooker's fight, it was the corners that was there. They should have stopped that fight.
Yeah.
But in the Cachoeira fight, it was the referee and the corners. They both should have stopped that fight. Like, there was nobody on this. There was people that watched the Hooker fight. You knew after the first
round how this ends. There's like, there's no way for this girl to get back into this fight. Yeah. I remember she was like, Valentina was like minus 1,200 or something. People were like, oh, imagine spending like 1,200. Just like, that should have been like, if we're talking boxing, that's like a minus 5,000 line. There was actually no chance.
Her inside the distance is a very fair
The only
price.
chance was Valentina like tearing her ACL and crumpling over or something and being an injury TKO. But that's literally the only way that she could have won that fight. Like, it was, you could tell very, very quickly.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It wasn't even just the responsibility of the corner. It was not just the responsibility of the commission and the doctor and the referee.
Yep.
But it was like, as a matchmaker, it's like, Sean Shelbs, what are you doing? Like, how did this fight come to be? I'm not sure. So, you know, I feel for her. And she showed a degree of toughness, obviously. But when you watch the Hooker fight with people, they'll be like, damn, dude, this Hooker guy's tough. He's taking shots, man. This guy's tough. I can't believe he hasn't gone down yet. But when you watch the Shevchenko fight with Cachoeira, it's just like, yo, well, why is this, what's going on here? Like, why is this still going on? It's like, it's tough to watch. Now, I don't think that's going to change her. She's young. It's just, she wasn't particularly good to begin with, and that's got to hurt your confidence big time. Is getting like, now you realize, and you talk to a lot of UFC fighters, you talk to UFC fighters that are, hate to disrespect anybody, but no good. And they'll still tell you, I'm here to be a champion. They got that mindset. Like, I'm not here to just take some fights to get my ass kicked. I'm here to, like, do something. You could be on a losing streak. You could be Mark Diakiese, but you still might believe, I'll get this back together. Like, I'm young and I'm making improvements and I'm going to go.
Diego Sanchez is talking about going for a title round, I guess.
Of course, but I think when you're Cachoeira and you you're Cachoeira and you catch a beating like that, it's like, I'm never going to get to that level. So it's like, what else does my career have in store for me? It was like that Tim Boetsch fight. He knew in that third round where it was like, okay, Amari Akhmedov's hurt, and he's tired. No, he's not hurt. He's tired. Classic Tim Boetsch would turn it up on this guy. Oh, wait. I can't turn it up on this guy. This guy is as low level as I'm going to be able to fight in the UFC, and I can't beat this guy. I'm getting my face busted up. I'm bleeding everywhere. It ain't going to get no better from this. But you think about that stuff. And he's old. He's at the tail end of his career.
Sure.
She's not. But again, you just don't know how someone's going to bounce back from that. So Molly McCann, hometown crowd, wants to wash out the bad taste out of her mouth. I think she gets the victory here. 8,500. I'm not sold on this weight class, to be honest, as far as scoring points, unless it's a complete gross mismatch and she's going to smash her. But because I think it'll be a stand-up battle, and I think Molly McCann will just do enough to chip away.
It'll just be active.
There's not a whole lot of plays I like on this card. But again, I don't love this one. So that's the thought on it.
Fair enough. And finally, we have Nad Narimani taking on Mike Grundy. Nad Narimani minus 155. Mike Grundy is, 8,900 minus 155 for Nad Narimani. Mike Grundy, 7,300 and plus 135. Who you got?
This one could be a classic. I've been getting the first fight of the card wrong a lot. It happens. It probably happens to me seemingly like 70% of the time. But, I don't know. The very first fight of the card, sometimes when you do your research, not everybody, but you start with the prelims just because you know who the main card guys are better. So you do that research last. You start with the prelim guys while you're like up in it and you want to get with it. So you think you got some awesome read on the prelim fight. It blows up in your face. I feel like Nad Narimani should most definitely win this fight. Minus 155, Good price. 8,900. He'd have to be like at least 2-1 to get the price tag like 8,900. I don't like 8,900, but for the 155, I can see it. I like Narimani. Again, he's another Cage Warriors champion. He's a guy that's big, strong, physical. Striking's getting better. Decent wrestling chops, decent grappling chops. I like him. I like what I see. As long as he continues to fight mid-level competition, I think he should thrive. This Mike Grundy guy, though, he's a total like out of left field X factor for me. He's got a good-looking record. He's got some good submission wins. He's the Commonwealth Games bronze medalist, 2014 in freestyle wrestling. So he could fucking wrestle. And if he goes out there against Narimani, who generally wears on opponents with his size and his grappling and his wrestling, if he goes out there and he's unable to take him down, or if he himself gets taken down and gets grinded, we got a problem. Because Narimani's he's 2-0 in the UFC, but he's most known for the big win over Paddy Pimblett. And Paddy Pimblett's a good grappler, but is not physically strong or a fantastic wrestler. And in those exchanges, you can see you can out-grapple this guy if you're stronger than him, but he's generally the stronger, more physically imposing guy. So against Grundy, he could have some problems with that. I'm going to stick with him. Again, minus 155, not the worst.
But he won't be able to go to his regular tools, the wrestling, which probably makes him a bad DraftKings play. The
best thing he does, he probably is not going to be able to use. So now he's got to use his boxing. I think he's a better striker than Grundy. So I think the fight stays standing and he outboxes him. The reason why I'm not higher up on Grundy is a couple reasons. First of all, he doesn't really seem to have much power in his hands. So even if he's got the wrestling advantage, he's able to maybe wear on Nad or take him down a little bit. Nad, better grappler, should be able to get back up. He's not going to be able to hurt Nad like Nad should be able to beat him. If their wrestling and the grappling just nullify itself out and it's a striking battle, I got Narimani here. But if he's able to use this world-class wrestling and take him down and use his grappling, we got a problem. This could be a greasy theory more than anything else. But what I told you, 2014 Commonwealth Games bronze medalist. That sounds fucking badass, doesn't it? Okay. So, like, what does the Commonwealth Games really entail, right? So what country won the 2014 Commonwealth Games? It was actually Canada. Canada had 7 gold medals that year. England, the team that Mike Grundy represented, they finished 5th.
Yeah.
No gold medals. No gold medals for England. 5th in the standings. Mike Grundy got a bronze medal. He lost to the wrestler from Pakistan, who got the silver medal, who actually lost in the final to the fighter from India, who got the gold medal. That tournament would be
all of the world's wrestling superpowers, USA, Russia, Iran, and like some of the other places, like
literally everything, even like
throughout the Middle East. Like those are all of the superpowers, and none of them are invited to this dance. That's for sure.
No, none of the European countries, none of even these Asian countries like China and Kazakhstan and Mongolia, all day. Uzbekistan, yeah, none of that. It was like Pakistan, Sri Lanka,
that's what you're saying,
India. So what I'm saying is that's the equivalent to being like a D2 All-American. That's what I would
Or
think.
it's like
I would
Kelly being a
that's
4-time
legit.
Olympian.
That's fucking legit. That is legit, Paul.
For Australia.
That is legit. I'm saying that bronze medal at the Commonwealth Games in 2014, to me, is the same as being a D2 All-American. So if I tell you, yo, Grundy's a bronze medalist, 2014 Commonwealth,
Arjun Buller being a Canadian.
He's an Olympian.
Yeah.
That guy was Wrestler of the Year in Canada. He's no fucking joke. He doesn't seem great. But heavyweight wrestling,
Doesn't really
there's no
seem
athleticism.
to translate well to the octagon.
Just yet, yeah. But anyways, all I'm saying is if it sounds super badass when you say it like that, but if you said it, yo, it's Nad Narimani versus some D2 All-American, like, again, you would probably think the guy's got a wrestling advantage, or again, maybe he's got as good of wrestling, but it's not like he's got overwhelmingly good wrestling. And for that reason, I got to think that Nad Narimani is able to keep the fight standing and beat him, or hold his own in the grappling exchanges enough to get the win. But I'm seeing some love coming in for Grundy, and that's why I try not to buy too much into it, because I'm on Team Narimani, so I'm that's what I'm rolling with.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. But yeah, the wrestling does cause concern for me, because now it needs to turn to that for that 89 price tag. Like Marshman, at least I know he's going to be in a firefight. You know what I mean?
You want
he could
him
get
to use his wrestling. You want him to, but even if he doesn't, he could still get the job done.
Whereas this one, like the winner
yeah.
could score 65, 70 points, and maybe that's fine for cash games. It's a little bit safer, but it's not in our little Ironman challenge, which we're going to quickly transition to right now. Like that's not going to cut it. So Ironman
yeah.
challenge. Give me 1 second here. 1-8.
Got busted up last week for as far as the
Yeah, but
the
you know what?
Ironman
Like, I think
challenge.
we're on the right channel. Like,
Oh, it's gonna
we're gonna
happen.
get on
It's
a
gonna
heater here, and like that's what you need to do is racking up those top 5% finishes in this thing, gain those 2 points. Like we'll get back on track here. So to pull up last week's message, oh, there it is right here.
Rough go.
It was a real rough go. We had.
I'm gonna try to justify. I hate people that make excuses, but I'm gonna justify these.
Okay, well, we had Tim Boach.
Okay, well, start
That
at the
one,
high end.
yeah.
Start at the high end, and we'll work our way down.
That wasn't a great spot.
Terrible spot, but he was
we
a
were-
value play.
we
You gotta
were-
start with who do we pay up for? Let's
Yeah,
start.
we
there.
were bang on with Junior Dos Santos.
Wow,
We
expected.
knew shots to the body. We literally called that fight to a T. Is that he
And
beats
Derek
up
would
on
swing
these slow
when he's-
lumbering heavyweights, gonna land to the body. Literally played out exact. I was happy because it was a bad card all around in terms of I was on Hughes. He was in my parlays
Holy
and
fuck him and Ben Rothwell.
yeah, I was on both of those.
Yeah.
I had those
Yeah.
guys in any
Yeah.
parlays that I had, all over them. And when at the end of the day, I was just like, fuck, I had a shitload of parlays and stuff like that. Those were the 2 ones. And it's just like, man, I thought I won those decisions. But that's the MMA game because I've been on the Kai Kara France against Raulian Paiva
Fair
in
enough.
his last fight. It's just like, I got the good side of that. So you can't forget, you can't just be like, oh, I got robbed. Just like, yeah, but you also steal some in this game. The game gives and takes away. So it's like, you can't freak out too much. It is what it is, and you're not going to be able to change it. It's unfortunate, but I thought that, yeah, we got through those 2 decisions. So we had, Junior Dos Santos that we paid up for. Tim Means, everything was actually looking pretty good, Tim Means. And then it wasn't. And he was unconscious. And he got knocked out for the first time in his career. He was landing. One thing I will say about Nico Price, I've been rough against him, I guess. Guy is durable, and guy is never going to quit, and the guy can hit hard. So that is more respect than I have given him. I still think that like he's not great, but like that chin checked out. He was getting absolutely mollywopped. He was able to just stand in the pocket and land a heavy, and that's MMA. But it was one of those nights for us, to be perfectly honest.
Nico Price, pound for pound, is on that fucking heavy hitter list, man. Like this guy's got sneaky power. When you look at how he knocks guys out, like the Morono fight, it's like, oh my God, froze up. Different dimension, up against the cage, done with like a second left. You look at the Randy Brown, hammer fist from his back. That's power. Knocking out Tim Means, who's been through the ringer and has 40 plus pro fights, knocking him out. God damn. While you're hurt with your back against the cage as a counterpunch, one singular, boom. Not only did you knock him out, you blew his knee out and broke his ankle out. His dead weight hit the ground, shattered. Fuck, man, this guy hits. Nico Price. If you got a chin and you got that kind of power and you got a heart like Nico Price, you're going to pull some upsets off.
Yep.
So anyways, yeah, listen.
We had Ben Rothwell, we had Louis Smolka, and then we had Zaleski. Zaleski was great. Zaleski was great. Smolka, shit.
He shit the bed. But he's known to do it. So, like, we did it to ourselves.
We did do it
He's
to
done
ourselves.
this. You know, I joked to my buddy before the fight start. As long as he doesn't pull a Alex Morono. Or, sorry, not Morono. Who's a little kid there? Baby Assassin.
Mm-hmm. Baby face.
Morono? What's his first name?
Yeah.
You know.
Brandon Morono.
Brandon Morono. Where it's like, here's an unheralded kid with limited grappling chops that just snags you up in a guillotine. And he got out of the triangle choke, Louis Smolka did. He got out and then immediately was like, I'm going to slug this man with a left hand and shoot myself right back into a triangle. And Schnell just adjusted it and finished him. Props to Schnell, by the way. You know I'm a fan.
Yeah.
But Smolka gonna Smolka, man. We played him and it was our fault.
What time's your train again?
Oh, fuck it. I don't care. I'm rolling. Let's roll.
Do you have any final thoughts on Conor McGregor here?
No, like I honestly, I know where he's coming from. You're going out, you're trying to enjoy your night. 5 o'clock in the morning is 5 o'clock in the morning. Like he was probably partying and he's on edge. And who knows, man? The guy's got 2 kids at home and a wife, and he's got millions of dollars, and he's
I
getting
think
sued
it's
from
not
this guy.
necessarily his wife, but his girlfriend.
Sorry, he's got a girlfriend.
Baby mama.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's got 2 kids or is she pregnant with a second. Does he got 2
I
kids?
don't know.
Well,
I
again,
can't keep up with it.
Again, the guy's got a regular life according to regular people, but he's not a regular man, you know?
No.
He's out there partying and spending money, and he is Conor McGregor. Sometimes you could be a decent human being, but the game takes a hold of you. Think about it this way, like a girl's loyalty to a guy is judged on if the guy has nothing, right? That's where like her loyalty is really judged. But a guy's loyalty is judged towards a girl is judged if he has everything. Like, girls don't want nothing to do with a guy who's got fucking nothing. But if you got a girl that's sticking by your side, it's like, damn, that's loyalty. But a guy with nothing, he's loyal. But a guy with everything, that's the real test. This guy's got $50-60 million. He's got a whiskey company that he's got to promote, and he's got a fight that he's trying to get. And he's kind of half embarrassed deep down because he's a prize fighter that just got embarrassed in his last 2 performances. He hasn't picked up a win in over 2 years, 3 years. It's starting to get a little time for Conor McGregor. He's on end, he's out partying, and somebody gets in his face. The regular human thing to do would be, hey buddy, yeah, I'll take a picture with you, I'll take an autograph. But again, you don't know what
it's hard for us to relate to all of this. Because nobody's coming up asking us for pictures and stuff like that. It's like he can't go anywhere. Can't go anywhere without people being like, hey, let me take a picture with you. Hey, can you sign this? Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And it's just like 5 o'clock in the morning after a night of partying or whatever he was up to. It's just like, obviously he's not thinking completely straight. Like this $1,000 phone that he just got probably costs him a hell of a lot more. You know, it's going to cost him 10, 15 grand to kind of just settle, get this person to go away. And it's just like one thing I will say, just in this day and age, ask people for permission before you just feel like you're entitled to take pictures and so on and so forth. I know you're a celebrity. You sign up for that. You benefit from everyone else, being fans of yours and being in the spotlight. But like, people are people too. You gotta at least know that it's okay.
I get it. But
it depends on how he reacted. Maybe he was just like, don't take a picture of me right now. I don't want that. And the guy just wouldn't stop.
Man, it just depends.
He shouldn't have grabbed the phone. Don't get me wrong. But like, people think that celebrities owe them shit and they don't.
No, that's what I'm saying. But it just depends how the headline's written about it. If it's Keanu Reeves is walking and the paparazzi gets in his face, Keanu Reeves grabs the camera and smashes it on the ground. The headline's going to be, oh, Keanu Reeves grabbed the paparazzi's camera and smashed it. And no one's going to give a fuck. But in Conor McGregor's case, he grabs a cell phone and he smashes it to the ground. Like, my buddy Kells, I've seen him do that like 3 or 4 times to his own phone. Idiot. But it's like, whatever. He threw the phone to the motherfucking ground. He smashed that. But like the headline is that he robbery and like like now
the laws are so loose there.
Yeah, but also the paparazzi guy gets his camera smashed and says like, what the fuck, Keanu? And then they contact Keanu's publicist and they get.
Well, they listed him as a fan, not a paparazzi.
He was a fan. I'm not saying he's a paparazzi. I'm just saying it's just how the headline comes out. When I first saw it, my buddy messaged it to me and it was like Conor McGregor cell phone robbery, blah, blah. I was like, this guy's like smashing, grabbing cell phones now in Miami. Like, how is it degraded to this? Like, this is the lowest of the low. I read like the first 2 lines and I closed the story. I knew right away he grabbed somebody's phone and smashed it. I didn't understand how grabbing someone's phone and smashing it entailed stealing it until later I read the rest of the details that he picked it back up. But again,
he didn't give it back.
Yeah, but this is the same as like, not that I would ever condone this, but like you're in an argument with somebody, right? And then, the girl says, I'm leaving. And you want to still argue, right? So you get in the way of the door and you're just like, no. I want to talk. You're not leaving. I want to talk. That's fucking entrapment. But you don't feel like it's entrapment. I'm just trying to talk. No, motherfucker. It's entrapment. This is the same thing. You think like, fuck your phone and you smash. That's all you're thinking. But in actuality, it's like, oh, dude, you took it. So that's theft. And because it's an iPhone, whatever, it's worth $1,100. So now it's theft over $1,000, and you smashed it. So that's destroying property of the value over $1,000.
Yeah. And
this guy feels threatened. So now he's charging you assault because when you grabbed it, you touched his hand when you grabbed it.
It's such bullshit though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. It's all when you're that big of a celebrity, you can't take a shit in public.
You can't take risks.
Right.
Like I know. I'm not.
Can't.
What I'm
you
saying.
Know why?
What I'm saying is the world has gone fucking nuts, and that person who's taking a, they should be like, dude, you broke my phone. Like, you have to probably report it, but at least like, I don't know. This person's probably gonna get like 20 grand out of losing a phone. That's literally And like, you know, as soon as they did it, that person goes,
Yeah, I'm getting 20
who
grand for
knows? Like, this could have been
sure.
premeditated.
For
Like, I'm going to go after, I'm
sure.
going to be really aggressive because what's he going to do if he gets aggressive with me? I charge him for assault. He's in a different country right now.
Hit
like,
me is the
you know,
best case
yeah,
scenario.
You know,
Now I
hard,
can
yeah,
get real money.
it's hard out there, but with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, I know.
And
Here's
he's
the
got to be more
unpopular.
mindful of that. But we've seen the guy's life is a freaking roller coaster at this point, and he seems to be going down a bad path.
Well,
and I don't know if he's going to be able to fix it up, to be perfectly honest. Like, he's making this is not mistakes that Conor, when he was first coming in, I don't think he would have made. But money changed this guy. He changed significantly.
I agree. I'll give you the unpopular opinion, and then we can end the show.
Yep.
Everybody and their mom are suggesting that Conor's up at 5 o'clock in the morning, partying, doing the cocaine, and he rages out and smashes a phone. Entirely plausible. In fact, if we were betting on it, that would probably be the favorite. The unpopular opinion is this guy can't go out into public anymore. Like, those days are over. So like, it seems crazy that he's up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but like that's when you probably spend the quiet moments of your life, is when everybody else is asleep, because that's how fuck shit's got for you ever since you said all that crazy shit and one punched Aldo. You know what I mean? Like, it's things are never going to be the same. So yeah, his life's spiraling out of control. But you know who else life spiraled out of control? Macaulay Culkin. Because money does shit to yourself, man. Like fame.
Michael Jackson.
What? Okay, we're done here. Let's.
No, I'm saying that his life
whatever.
spiraled out of
Paul.
control.
I'm sure his life did spiral out of control.
He wasn't always that fucked up.
I'm done. We're done. What? Okay. Yeah. We're
What,
going down
are
the
you saying-
Are we going down the rabbit hole? now,
No,
Paul?
we're not going to talk about it. Well, you're saying that Michael Jackson is not fucked up?
Yeah. No, I agree. Fucked up.
Yeah.
Super
I
fucked
think
up.
we're on the same page.
Yeah. I'm just suppose out of any example you could have used, mind you, I used Macaulay
He's somebody
Culkin,
who became
but
popular as a child
I guess
as
I'm just
well, and
thrown
his
off.
life
It
was
was-
ruined.
I'm just thrown off by the
The Olsen
reply.
twins, they look really fucked up. Have you seen them? Like, they
You
look
seen
like...
the third sister?
No.
The normal one.
Okay.
I know.
I haven't
Look
seen,
into it.
I've seen the other two, and they looked, there's something off with them. Anyway, that wraps it up for us this week. Thank you for tuning into the show. Thank you to Cody Saftic breaking down the fights with me, as always. Thank you to you, the viewers, for watching the show. Pretty interesting week all around. The final little thought that I have, I kind of like the mid-range this week, so I'm going to probably be making rosters and avoiding a lot of the guys at the top. And we'll see how it all plays out. But anyway, for Cody Saftic, I'm Paul, saying goodbye and good luck.
Mayo experience! Experience!